Okay, according to this, we're live streaming, so we're on time, and so I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of Council. The meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating in the meeting may be captured as part of this recording. We acknowledge the original custodians of the land that we're all meeting from tonight, right across Indigo Shire. Pay respects to their elders past and present, and welcome any descendants who may be watching the meeting this evening. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interests of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We are all committed to exercising the council's powers and functions to the best of our skills and judgment. Do I have any apologies? Leave of absence? No. Declaration of conflict of interest.
Yes, I have a declaration of conflict of interest for item 11.2. I have an indirect interest due to conflicting duty. I've emailed the CEO in relation to that material, and he has those facts. Oh,
okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other conflicts of interest? No. All right, so item 11.2, council goes whether you'll leave and go into a breakout room and you won't be able to hear or participate in that item. Are there any condolences? So community and council achievements. There was one we did want to mention tonight just because it is a bit of a good news story, was congratulations to the Waganya Recreation Reserve, who were funded at the tune of $1.09 million from the Victorian Government's Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program for their tennis and netball courts. So that's fantastic news for Waganya, and we congratulate their committees that put in all that hard work alongside the community, because it was absolutely your hard work that got that grant. So well done. Item 7, confirmation of minutes from the previous meetings. The recommendation is that Council confirm the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 28th of July 2020 as published on our website, and also confirm the minutes of the confidential session that was also held on the 28th of July as distributed separately. Do I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murdoch. Do you wish to speak to the item, Councillor? Okay, I'll put the item. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.1 is suspension of standing orders regarding open forum. The recommendation is that standing orders be suspended to allow open forum to be brought forward to the agenda to the next item, and that the Mayor read questions to open forum on behalf of the questioners without the requirement that the questioner or their representative be present at the meeting. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Shepherd, seconded Councillor Price. Anyone wish to speak to it? Put the motion. Anyone against the motion? Carried. Okay, so we'll go straight to open forum. There are two items tonight from two members of our community. So the first one is from Robin McLeish. Director Mark Florence, I think these will be questions for you to answer. The first one is, has Council established the Committee of Management for the Barmutha Park Community Asset Committee? And if so, have regular committee meetings commenced? And just to clarify that question, these are the new forms of committee that will come into effect after September the 1st, when the new Local Government Act is brought into action. So in answer to that one, no, they haven't met yet because they can't form until after the 1st of September. And the current Committee of Management will transfer across to the Community Asset Committee. So, Mark, do you want to add anything to that for that question?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yes, council officers have engaged with each of the user groups with a view to starting to shape that new committee. We've been advised by each of the user groups that they're not ready to do that, given the COVID restrictions is preventing them from meeting and determining who might be the representatives on that committee. So there's still some time to go that until restrictions ease.
Right. There are 3 questions from Mr. McLeish. The second one is If council is seeking to have the Barmutha Park Reception Centre managed under contract, will the existing kitchen meet the health and commercial standards required for formal events?
So the existing kitchen was being used prior to the restrictions placed under COVID regimes and met the health and safety requirements for that kitchen. Under any sourcing of the management out to an external provider, the kitchen will obviously be part of that contract, and it would depend on the negotiations with the provider about what standard that kitchen would need to be, but obviously would need health and safety sign-off before any activity could take place.
Yeah, okay. And 3, has council formally sought expressions of interest for the management of the Barmutha Park Reception Centre? And if so, when will this information be released to the community?
The short answer on that is no, because the first step is to establish the committee.
Yeah.
Because the committee will have a role in the that expression of interest process.
Okay, so in short, until the Local Government Act is taken into effect, the new Act, from September the 1st, everything's kind of waiting for that to then roll on with all these new committees, etc. And we will, of course, make sure that that information is made available as it comes to hand. Okay.
And as COVID restrictions are eased, that will allow groups to meet more comfortably.
Yeah, okay. All right, so thank you, Robin, for those questions. So this next questions are from Darren Arnold from Rutherglen. So Darren asks, in 2019, Indigo Shire Council engaged a consultant, Mr. Tom Smith, to prepare a report on the Rutherglen tourism offering. After consultation, community engagement and calling for submissions, the report was presented to Council with recommendations from Council officers at its meeting on the 25th of February this year. In speaking against the motion to adopt the report, the councillors representing Council on the Rutherglen Wine Centre Board informed Council that the Rutherglen Wine Centre Board had the capacity to fund the operation of the Rutherglen VIC and that the current arrangement provided considerable cost savings to Council. The motion to accept and adopt the report's recommendation was subsequently lost. Given that the Rutherglen Wine Centre Board has now advised it will be relinquishing responsibility for the operation of the Rutherglen Visitor Information Centre, with its main reason being lack of funding, will Council now please advise what it proposes in relation to the Rutherglen Destination Management Report 2020 and its officer's recommendation as presented to Council on the 25th of February. Okay, so did everyone get that? All right, so the report was presented, it was voted against, the recommendations were voted against based on the fact that the Wine Centre Board would be able to keep funding the operation. That has now changed. The Wine Centre Board has advised that it won't be doing that. So what happens now with that report and the recommendations from it? I think this one might go CEO. I think we'll give it to the CEO.
Madam Mayor, I think since that letter came in, we now have an item on today's agenda, which is item 11.2, which is the Rutherglen VIC. And I think that addresses, for the most part, that question. So there's an agenda item on the meeting tonight to talk about the future of the VIC. And I think that virtually covers it. That the question, I wouldn't have had access to that report when that question was received. And I think by the end of tonight that all those questions will be answered in that report. So that is a recommendation only, and we need a council. I can't tell you what's going to happen because you haven't signed off on that.
Council will have to make a decision based on a recommendation that has been put, basically that the VIC will come under the control of Indigo Shire Council. But
so I can't comment on the future until you agree on what that future is.
Yes, and Councillor Goldsworthy, you want to add something?
Yeah, one of those recommendations was to establish a business forum entity, and that's not up for discussion tonight. I'm just wondering if there's any comment around that.
The only comment I'm going to make is that once this decision is made, obviously there will then be a stage of development and planning into the future around what that looks like if Council does take over the VIC and what other things need to happen to support that in Rutherglen. So there's a journey ahead of us if we're determined to take over the VIC. Yes, CEO.
I just wanted to raise with the council, Law Goldsworthy's declared a conflict on 11.2. Some of the response and some of the discussion is starting to involve 11.2. So I just wanted to make sure he was just conscious of that as we had this.
Yeah,
this current item.
quite conscious of it.
Thank you.
My concern is around dot point 6, particularly on that agenda item. So this is about the business forum entity. So it's nothing to do really with the Rutherglen Wine Centre. It was just
About the report recommendation.
It's all right. I'm just trying to calculate.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I think that's a fair comment. That's actually
so
recommendation. Look, I just want Mark Florence wanted to make a comment.
So in relation to the business forum or some such like entity, that is something that the Economic Development Unit of Council is progressing anyway in terms of its relationship with business in the Rutherglen area. It'll also be something that the newly formed Indigo Committee will be looking at across the Shire, but also having some input into Rutherglen as well into the future. So nothing definitive as yet, but it's something that's continually being worked on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll wait for 11.2 and then I guess we'll have a sense of where we're heading from here. Okay, so the recommendation is that standing orders be resumed. Do I have a councillor to move and one to second that, please? Councillor Price and Councillor Shepherd. Or anyone against? Okay, thank you. All right. So item 8 is business arising from the previous meetings. There are questions that were put on notice at the previous meeting and the answers are there in the agenda for everyone to see. Are there any petitions? Item 9. No. All right, so we're moving to planning and corporate services. Item 10.1 is the June 2020 finance report. And the recommendation is that council accepts the draft financial report for June 2020. Do I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Gaffney. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murdoch. Okay. Councillor Gaffney, do you want to speak to that? You're muted.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council completed the financial year on a solid note and has benefited from the early payment of the financial assistance grants for the 2020-2021 financial year. And this, of course, is a timing issue.
With the fags, yes, thank you. Yeah. Councillor Murdoch, do you want to add anything?
No, I think Councillor Gaffney said it all.
Councillor Shepherd, you wish to speak to your
yes,
motion.
I just wanted to raise that one of the unfavourable variances was the $364,000 within the building and property service area. And it's a variance that we'd be happy about, really, because it was assistance provided for COVID-19 businesses through council support package. So even though it's something that's unfavourable to council, it is favourable to the businesses.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thank you for mentioning that, Councillor. Anything, Councillor Trenry?
Sorry, just a question if I could. In regards to the income, the reimbursements of 130,000 compared to the budget amount of 87,000, can I just get reminded what is in that and what that variance was about, please?
So Director Greg Pinkerton, over to you on this one.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. Can you just direct me to the page and the section that you're looking at there?
So page 11 in the
Yep.
The P&L, agree.
The income statement, income reimbursements, 130,000 year-to-date actuals, up against 2019-20 annual budget of 87,449.
Yeah, look, without notice, I'd need to, I could have a guess, but I'm probably best to take that on notice. Most of the reimbursements, though, are related to staff reimbursements that are due. Without knowing the detail, I can get that for you and send it through.
Okay, you happy for that to be on notice, Councillor?
Yeah, if I could, that'd be great.
Actually,
Okay.
sorry, can I
Yeah.
alter that with thanks to our very fast texting finance manager? I can
Hi, Phil.
for you. I can confirm for you their work cover reimbursements. So we set a budget based on what we believe the work cover issues and the work cover level that we're going to have, and that's just lower than expected, which is actually good news because it means we have less on work cover. Okay,
great. So thanks to Mr. Garoni for that input in absentia. All right, so is that okay, everybody? Any more questions on that one? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? I should have said against, but anyway, carried. Thank you. All right, item 10.2, July 2020 Finance Report. Again, our off-site Manager for Finance, Phil Garoni, will no doubt be able to answer any questions via Greg. Do I have someone to move that Council accepts the July 2020 Finance Report? Councillor Gaffney, excellent. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Gaffney, you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the pandemic in full swing, there will be a level of uncertainty when predicting financial results. But at this stage, we're in a solid action, and we just hope that that things don't go down. I have got a couple of questions for the Director of Planning and Corporate Affairs after the seconder.
Oh, okay. So, Councillor Shepherd, do you want to speak to the report at all? Okay. So, Councillor Gaffney, back to you.
With the closing down of the snow season, what effect will this have on Buller Gas, and do we know what the bottom line effect will be?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. In the budget, we made some adjustments in anticipation of a lower income for Buller Gas. So we've adjusted the income for Buller Gas by close to 400,000 and the expenses down by about 230,000, leaving a net of $137,000 impact. And that was just in recognition of having a slower season. Obviously, this is normally the peak time of the year for Buller Gas. And as you can see in the July report, compared to that revised target, we're $53,000 or almost $54,000 unfavourable to that. So it's very, very difficult to predict how the full year numbers will look, just because we don't know what sort of remainder of the season might happen, or the off-season tourism may be higher or lower, we're not too sure. But at this stage, 1 month in, we're $53,000 unfavourable, and that's 36% less than what we had expected to receive this time for this month. So that's all I can report at this stage. The only other factor, I suppose, is that, as we've said all along, this is a very unusual year. We're going to have to just keep a close eye on all of these things. And we're looking forward to the Q1 revision, where we can draw a line under the first 3 months and really have a good look at what's happened and what that might mean to the rest of the year's budget.
Yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, sorry, I did want to raise the fact that we're off and running with our capital expenditure too. Last year, this time, we'd spent 2.7%. This year, we're 4.9%. So congratulations, Ian and your team. You're off and running this year and nearly doubled the amount of work that's being done.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. 10.3, Borrowing and Investment Policy 2020. The recommendation is that council adopts the attached borrowing and investment policy. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Gaffney.
All right. Okay,
Oh,
Madam Mayor,
got a question.
I'd like to move a motion that we adjourn this until the next meeting, which is the 15th of September. During the break, I've made some inquiries and I don't think our investment policy matches what we're actually doing. It's only a small tweak. I'm quite happy to explain it in case I get a seconder.
So is there a seconder to adjourn this?
Well, they need to know what I was adjourning it on.
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, so on page 23, it talks about our investments with WAW, which I'm very pleased about, and it also mentions Bank Vic, which I'm also very happy about. But when you read page 107 of the policy, under investments, it says, unless by council resolution point 2, council is not to invest with an institution with Standard & Poor's credit rating of a lower than B or a non-rated institution. I think you'll find that WAW is not a rated institution, and I certainly couldn't find Bank Vic under the Standard & Poor's flagship. So I would presume that that's not rated as well. It only needs to be tweaked, but if we're going to go ahead with the policy, perhaps it should be changed from Standard & Poor's to Universal.
So just in line with that, I just want to check in with Director Pinkerton and CEO. I'll come to you, Councillor Goldsworthy. Can anyone comment on whether Councillor Gaffney is, I'm not saying you're not correct, but, you know, is there any potential there that Councillor Gaffney doesn't have the right information or has got a different reading on that policy? Director Pinkerton.
Yeah, thank you. So there's two aspects to this. The WAW is, I'd need to go back and do the research, but I'm fairly certain there was a council resolution to support the local institution. So the WAW one, I believe, is backed by that policy because there was a council decision to do so. But we could certainly go back and find that. The rating agency one, I think is something that we would, if this policy passed tonight, we would need to revisit our investment in that bank. The adjustment that would need to be made would be to just add the words or equivalent after the Standard & Poor's comment on that page that Councillor Gaffney pointed out. There's several rating agencies that you can use. Standard & Poor's is the standard, but there are other ones. So you could just add Standard & Poor's or equivalent, and that would protect the council risk. But we could do that in the next week and bring it back to the next meeting if that's what you'd like to do.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. I want to go to Councillor Goldsworthy first, then Councillor Trenery.
My query was going to be the same with the director to see whether that was the case. I would note that on page 1 of 3 for the policy document, which is page 106 of the agenda, at the bottom line it does say, in recognising council's buy local approach, local providers will be encouraged to bid for financial service provisions.
Okay. Councillor Trenery?
It's because of the conflict. I understand Councillor Goldsworthy and Councillor Gaffney are right in what they're saying, but I was just wondering if the director could answer. He's saying or equivalent. Do we know whether it's Standard & Poor's or equivalent still is lower than a B or above a B, and what rating is that? Because if the locals fall below that rating, doesn't matter whether it's Standard & Poor's or someone else, we won't be able to do business with them. So or equivalent is okay, but if they don't meet those standards, then we won't be able to deal with them. So I'd like to understand whether they meet those standards or not.
And just to add on to that, does the local policy decision to invest with local banks, if their impact on that at all? I'd add that as well. But yes, go ahead, Director Pinkerton.
So thank you. I would strongly support a deferral, and we can answer all of these questions and dig into it a bit more. I think that's probably the appropriate thing given the questions that have been raised tonight.
All right, so in line with Councillor Gaffney's original proposed motion, Councillor, was that Council adjourn this until the September 15th meeting. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Trenery. Okay, Councillor Gaffney, you've explained it. Do you want to say anything else? Yeah, Councillor Gaffney.
Yes, I would. Just in regard to what Councillor Goldsworthy said, on page 106, it says, in recognising councils by local approach, local providers will be encouraged to bid for financial service provisions. Before that's mentioned, it also says the council will use financial institutions that demonstrate a positive commitment within the region. Well, I don't think the IMB Bank is anywhere near us. I think it's in the Illawarra in New South Wales. And Bank Vic only has branches in Melbourne. So it certainly doesn't comply with a local issue as raised by Councillor Goldsworthy. But I'm more than happy for it to be adjourned until
okay.
the next
So,
meeting.
Councillor Trenery as a seconder, do you want to add any comments to this?
Just very quickly, yeah, I totally agree. It should be adjourned. There's obviously conflicts in there. And I think the director has basically stated it should be adjourned, and I agree that it should be.
Okay.
Won't take much.
Yeah, okay, and it's to come back to the next council meeting. I'll put the motion. Anyone against that motion? Okay, carried. Thank you, councillor. Item 10.4 is the establishment of the Audit and Risk Committee and adoption of charter. So the recommendation is that council, in accordance with section 54(7) of the Local Government Act 2020, establishes the Audit and Risk Committee. It adopts the Audit and Risk Committee charter as set out in attachment 1, appoints the existing Audit Committee members to the new Audit and Risk Committee under their current appointment arrangements, and reviews the Audit and Risk Committee charter within 12 months. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Price, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd, thank you. Councillor Price, do you wish to speak to the motion?
This is another requirement out of the new Local Government Act. We currently have an audit committee. This makes it an audit and risk committee. And the charter has been recommended to council by the last audit committee meeting, which the minutes of the chair's report is included in this agenda.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to add any comments?
Yes, just that this prescribes that the audit committee is now quite an independent body away from council, and is quite prescriptive in their roles, which is in this report, and it's really good to see. They also are asked to do a work plan for the year, and also which we get to see, and also we have a biannual report that will come to council and will be chaired, will be discussed at this meeting, which I think is an important addition, really, to make that more obvious what's happening with the audit committee. And just to thank the audit committee too, that they do a great job with with their charter they have at the moment. And this is, I think this is a new change, and I think is beneficial to community and council.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I will just add that the new charter is in line with the new Local Government Act, which was aiming to improve the audit committee. And when we looked at the way our audit committee functions, we were pretty much in line with the new requirements. So that was a really, I think, a great endorsement of that committee and the work they do. So back to you, Councillor Price. Want to sum up? Okay, I'll put the motion. Or anyone against? Okay. Thanks, councillors. 10.5, Assembly of Council Records. The recommendation is that Council accepts the attached Assembly of Council Records. Do I have someone to move that? Good on you, Councillor Price. Seconder? Councillor Trenery. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor? Councillor Trenery is seconder.
I'll listen I know it's the next lot of minutes, but I was unable to make the Finance committee meeting for the first time since I've been chair. So I thank the committee for carrying on while I wasn't there. I'm sure it would have been a very productive meeting without me. So I'm sure they did a great job. And I see Greg, I see Director Pinkerton looks very refreshed. So he must have been enlightened when I wasn't there.
Okay. All right. So anyone else wish to speak to this motion? I'll put the motion. Anyone against the motion? Carried. Thank you, councillors. 11.1, Community and Economic Development. So this is Director Mark Florence's department. 11.1 is the Carlisle Cemetery Strategic Plan 2020 to 2024. The recommendation is that Council adopts the Carlisle Cemetery Strategic Plan 2020 to 24. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Murdoch. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Price. Okay, Councillor Murdoch.
Well, this is really the only cemetery that we run or we look after, and it has been so for quite a long time. This is a strategic plan as to how to work that out and how to manage it properly, and it's really a continuation of what has been going on anyway. So I think that this is outlined so that we can do it properly.
Thank you. Councillor Price.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to see this strategic plan come through to council. I think this is a much loved cemetery, and as you walk around, you see a lot of the old names from around the area, and I think it's really appropriate to have a strong strategic plan for it going forward. There's a lot of work that needs to be done out there, but we've had a lot of the right people involved in putting this plan together, and it was pleasing to also get some feedback from them that they were quite pleased with the report. So thank you to the staff for the hard work that went into it.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this? Okay, I'll put the motion. Anyone against? Ooh, I didn't mean that. Confused myself. Carried. And look, it's really pleasing to see that we've had really positive feedback from the community on this one. So thanks to everyone that was involved in the development of that. Okay, so 11.2, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, I'll declare my conflict of interest. As previously mentioned, indirect interest due to conflicting duty. I gather I'll go into a breakout room.
You do. So, Administrator, can you remove Councillor Goldsworthy and put him elsewhere? And we'll see you back shortly. And he's gone. Okay. So this is a fairly lengthy motion, so bear with me. The recommendation is that Council firstly acknowledges and thanks the members of the Rutherglen Wine Centre Board and the management of Destination Rutherglen for their efforts in managing and operating the Rutherglen Visitor Information Centre for many years. 2, acknowledges that as of September the 1st, 2020, the instrument of delegation to the Rutherglen Wine Centre Board Section 86 Committee of Council and any other agreements held between Council and the Rutherglen Wine Centre Board will cease to exist. 3, closes all Rutherglen Wine Centre Board bank accounts and transfers all funds to Council, and that control of the Rutherglen Visitor Information Centre area of the Rutherglen Wine Experience Building and its contents revert to Council. 4, authorises the CEO to continue to undertake all required actions for the management and operations of the Rutherglen Visitor Information Centre to be the full responsibility of Council from September 1st, 2020. 5, authorises the funding within the 2020-21 budget allocated to the Rutherglen Wine Centre Board to now be applied within Council's operating financial budget for the management and operations of the Rutherglen Visitor Information Centre. 6, makes application to the Victorian Commission for Gambling and Liquor Regulation for an appropriate liquor licence to enable the continuation of the long-held practice of wine sales within the Rutherglen Wine Experience Building and as part of the operations of the Rutherglen Visitor Information Centre. And 7, enters into an interim memorandum of understanding with winemakers of Rutherglen for the use of the Rutherglen Wine Experience Building. So I hope you all got that. Do I have someone to move the motion? Councillor Shepherd.
I'd like to move that we defer number 6 of that recommendation to be discussed strategically for the next council meeting.
Okay. So to bring back to the September meeting.
Yep.
Yep. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Trenery?
No, I just want some clarification.
Oh.
So only number 6, so is that going to be a separate recommendation for council at the next council meeting, opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 7? Is that what you're saying? You're not deferring the whole lot, just the liquor licence part of it?
You're on mute, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd?
Yeah, okay. I don't see the need to defer the whole. I mean, we are moving in this space, but I think the area around the liquor license, I think, needs more discussion and needs more thinking in terms of strategic thinking about what we're going to be doing with that building and why we would need a liquor license. So I understand that the other things, you know, that we need to be moving on those really, so that we're ready.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. She's talking to the motion and hasn't got a seconder.
Well, she was answering a question.
Just answering a question.
Councillor Trenery asked her a direct question.
I was asking about...
But that's okay, that's finished now.
Yeah.
Well,
I was just seeking clarification about what's out and what's in, that's all.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Shepherd. Okay, do we have a seconder for Councillor Shepherd's motion to put the recommendations of from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, defer point 6 until the next council meeting and include point 7 tonight? Seconder, Councillor Price? Yes? Okay, Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do wish to speak to the motion. I know that has been previously alcohol sold at that at the centre, but I think we need to review what's happening with that VIC. There's an opportunity for us to look strategically at what is going to be on offer there, and just to straight away say we're going to renew or we're going to take on the liquor licence without having a discussion about how relevant that is to our community, how relevant it is to the winemakers. I think I think we're missing something there. We do need some time to talk about whether it's appropriate for council even to be running having a liquor licence.
Okay, Councillor Price.
I'll reserve my right.
Okay, any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Yeah, Councillor Trenery and then Councillor Gaffney.
So I've just got a question, if I could. How much is that going to cost if we don't run with the alcohol in that? Because it's already a very expensive thing we're doing. How much will it cost if we don't sell alcohol there into the future?
So, Councillor Trenery, just to clarify, the centre is actually closed at the moment and won't reopen before the September meeting. So, essentially, whatever it's costing is actually like it's going to stay the same because of the COVID shutdown at the moment. Does that answer your question?
No, not at all.
Sorry.
Madam Mayor, you'd be well aware there was a budget in regards to everything we've spoken about and promoting when it was promoted that we take this over by the report, and that budget included wine sales. Now, we're going to the ratepayers with a very expensive item. This is going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars into the future. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I'm going to get Trevor Areno on that one. Go on.
Yeah, so I'd like to know what the additional cost would be if we don't have wine sales on top of those dollars.
Okay. I just want to clarify something. This isn't actually saying that we should or shouldn't sell the wine. It's saying that we don't make that decision tonight, that we'd make that at the next meeting. So it may well be the decision is to continue selling the wine. So is that relevant?
No, it's not at all. My decision is going to be on this recommendation that's in front of us.
So you don't want to defer item 6?
Part of my decision-making process will be how much this is going to cost the ratepayers. And if we don't know how much this is going to cost the ratepayers, that's going to help me make a decision will I vote for the rest of it or not.
Okay, so just to be clear, at the moment we're voting on deferring item 6, not the whole thing, because we've already, so this is the Councillor Price put up deferring item 6. Councillor Shepherd put that up. Councillor Price seconded it. That's the bit we're talking about, not whether or not the rest gets through.
What you have to understand, Madam Mayor, is if we defer it, there's no guarantee it's going to get up or not get up. So
okay, so you don't want to defer it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So so we're talking about actually whether we defer it or not. Now, if we defer it, that's taking it out of the discussion of the dollars. I just need to know what it's going to cost us.
Okay,
if we
I'll get
don't
an
have
answer
that
for
option.
you. But I
Thank
just
you.
want to be clear with everybody, even if you don't agree with me, Councillor, we're actually not talking about deferring every other item. We're talking about deferring item 6 tonight. That's what this part of the motion is dealing with. The next bit will come next. CEO Areno, can you answer Councillor Trenery's claim that this is going to cost many, many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and how much would the wine sales add or detract from that?
So through you, Madam Mayor, there's probably two phases to this. If the question was, what will it cost us just to defer this discussion to the next meeting? Probably not much at all. As you've indicated with the shutdowns at the moment, VIC is closed. There are no wine sales to anybody at the moment through the VIC. So if the question is what would it cost to defer just to September, nil at all, or probably not much at all. The wider question of what are wine sales worth in terms of sales in an average year. The suggestion back in February if council took over the VIC instead of running under DR was that council could run the VIC for something like 138,000 a year, which was below what we're currently budgeting. And that assumption was without wine sales. So if we do include wine sales, then that position will be even better than that. So what is that amount? If you go back over the last couple of years, the average wine sales themselves, the revenue is probably around $50,000 roughly in terms of sales per year in an average year. We've not had average years this year, obviously. That's the revenue side, but not the profit side. There's obviously a cost of sales. I'm guessing there's a margin of, say, 30-40%. So it might be perhaps $20,000 decision. Rough terms. I mean, it's just.
I missed that, Madam Mayor. What did the CEO, and I'm sure he's not entering the debate.
Yes, he is.
I think he is, but what did he say?
Councillors, he's not entering the debate. I asked him to answer the question.
The question was, how much was the wine sales, not what the budget was of 138, which has been totally and utterly argued against in the past. I just want to know how much the wine sales are. It's not a hard question.
And he answered 50,000, but currently because the wine centre is shut, it's nil because they're not selling any, so there's no change. So I'm not sure how that's entering the debate, and I actually disagree with your point of order, and I would like to continue with the motion. So would anyone else like to speak to the motion?
That's right, Madam Mayor, could I move the motion of dissent? I only asked the CEO a question and you've shut the debate down. I would like to move a motion of dissent and I'm asking for a seconder.
Councillor Gaffney, Councillor Trenery asked the question to the CEO, not you. So how are you moving a motion of dissent that I didn't let him answer your question? So I just think this
Madam Mayor, you have shut me down. I've
Councillor
moved a
Gaffney,
motion of dissent. You should call for a
Councillor
seconder.
Gaffney, you can now speak. I was waiting for the CEO to answer Councillor Trenery's question, and then I said, Councillor Gaffney, how is that shutting you down? How is that shutting you down? You have the floor, Councillor. Go ahead.
The question I asked, which you spoke over me, was, what did the CEO say the markup on the wine was?
Now the CEO, I didn't hear that question at all.
I know because you spoke over me.
You were speaking over the CEO, actually. So anyway, CEO, can you answer Councillor Gaffney's question?
My estimation was that the margin on, and I don't have this exact figure in front of me. My estimation was from the figures that I'd seen that sales of wine are worth around 50,000 per year in terms of revenue, and that there is also a cost of sales in those wine. So if we assume the margin was say 30 to 40%, I don't know exactly the figure, but we assume it's 30, 40%, then possibly the loss of wine sales from a VIC in an average year might be in the vicinity of, in terms of profit, vicinity of $20,000 per year. That's just my best estimate.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion to defer point 6? Councillor Price, you reserved your right.
Sorry, I just saw a hand from Director Florence.
Oh, sorry. Director Florence, you can't enter the debate. So.
No, I'm fully aware I'm not entering the debate, but I'm just providing confirmation of the CEO's figures and also as contribution of actual costs to run the VIC. We're only talking about the VIC. It is the use of hundreds and hundreds of thousands is not correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going back. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Price, you reserved your right.
I'd like to speak to the motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I hear what the CEO says. I don't think he's correct, but when you look at the budget, the Beechworth VIC, the cost was $392,968. And the cost for the Rutherglen VIC was $146,000, to which the Director, Community and Economic Development said it wasn't comparing apples with apples. Well, I think you can compare apples to apples when the Beechworth VIC has a walk-in of 87,953 people and makes revenue of 41,931, whereas the Rutherglen VIC has a walk-in of 58,516, yet has revenue of $165,995. So the Beechworth VIC has a lot more people, yet makes 4 times the loss. One of those is run by Indigo Shire Council and the other one was run by the community. So Councillor Trennery saying hundreds of thousands of dollars, the consultant says if the council took over the running of the VIC, the cost of council would be $300,000. Well, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the CEO said last week in answer to a question from Councillor Goldsworthy that he could run it for $134,000. I think the liquor sales, please don't interrupt me, Madam Mayor. I think the liquor sales are far and above the comments that the CEO has made tonight.
Okay, thank you. You're not speaking to the motion that we're putting, by the way. I've got a question for clarification. Does the cost centre at Beechworth have the same costs included as the Rutherglen VIC, or are there additional costs there that are not included in the Rutherglen VIC budget? Director Florence.
The answer to that is that Beechworth VIC has additional cost layers. The Beechworth VIC has a full-time coordinator that deals with the Beechworth, Yakandanda and Chiltern VICs. The Rutherglen VIC doesn't.
Madam Mayor, point of order. I thought we were talking about the deferral. Now we're going back to the other motion.
Okay. So, Councillor Price, would you like to sum up? You reserved your right earlier.
Yeah, I think that it does warrant further discussion. I don't think most of this debate has been about that issue at all. But obviously, councillors have varied opinions on it, and I hope to see a resolution at the September meeting. Okay, so you are asking to put forward the rest of the motion but defer item 6. That's what you're speaking to? Yep, okay. All right, so Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to sum up?
I think the debate that's occurring is around the sale of whether we should or shouldn't sell liquor as a council through the VIC. I don't think we have enough information, as has been displayed from this discussion, around the benefits of us and what costs it will and how much money we will get from it, and whether we think that's the right business for council to be in. I think there needs to be a separate report on our involvement in obtaining a liquor license. I agree the rest of the motion, we should move, and I move on with that. But I think the liquor license area needs more review, and I suggest that we need more information before we make this decision.
Okay, so I'm going to put the motion, which is that the recommendation, with the exception of number 6, is put to the meeting, and that number 6 will be deferred for decision at the next council meeting in September. That's been put by Councillor Shepherd, moved by Councillor Price. All those in favour? Okay, so we've got 3 in favour. That means those against? We've got 3 against. I get the deciding vote. I pass the motion. Item 12.1, July Capital Works. Oh, can we have admin, can you please get Councillor Goldsworthy back into the room?
Madam, we haven't debated the motion.
I beg your pardon? That was the debate.
That was to take out 6, not to include the rest. I haven't spoken to the rest. I've only spoken to the amendment.
Councillor, I just was really clear that the entire motion was put except to defer item 6. That was what was put to the council. Is there any other councillor that does not agree that that was?
I don't agree with that. I thought we just moved a motion to defer number 6, not anything else. We didn't move a motion to pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. We just moved a motion to defer 6.
We actually did, and I actually said those very words. Councillor Shepherd, just to go back to you as the one that moved the amendment, were you clear that that's what we were doing?
I was clear. I do recognise that the councillors didn't get to debate the rest of the motion. But yes,
I'm sorry, but councillors did. You talked about the fact that it was going to cost too much money. You talked about the fact that it was more, that we were going to lose hundreds and thousands of dollars. That wasn't about deferring item 6. That was in relation to the motion.
It was all about item 6.
You just pulled up Councillor Gaffney on talking about the deferral only because he was going off everything. He was just moving a motion on the deferral.
And then he continued, and then I asked questions about it because you disagreed. Okay, so I listened to you. So
listen, no,
I'm going back.
Madam Mayor, if you're going to continue on this path, I would like to move a motion of dissent. And I think you'll find that local law 3 says that you must vacate the chair.
So I would like to
dissent.
Excuse me, I would like to defer to the CEO and the Director of Corporate Affairs to clarify whether I have done anything wrong. So we'll go into another.
There's a motion of dissent has been moved. I'm quite happy for the Director, Finance and Corporate Affairs to say whether what the procedure is for a motion of dissent.
You have to have grounds, councillor, and they've got to be reasonable grounds. So I'm finding out.
Quite happy to, because we have not debated this item. We've only debated point 6, and you made it very clear to us that that's the only thing we could talk about.
Okay, so let me go back to. Okay, I've got 2 choices here. I can actually accept that what you said, while it's not correct, but I'm quite happy to reopen the debate. Would that make you happy?
Well, I'm waiting to hear from the Director.
I need a question from the Mayor, I think.
Well, the question is, I've been accused of not actually putting the recommendation that I then asked people to vote on, and that I didn't allow debate on that. So that's my question. I don't think that's a fair representation. The person that moved the amendment said she was very clear that it was item 1 to 7 that we were moving, and that we defer item 6. I think I said it several times. It will be recorded, and therefore I don't accept that I have not actually done that. I guess I need some clarification from you.
So I was about to say the same as you, that it was recorded. So there's a couple of ways that this could go. That you've made a ruling on a question, which was essentially a point of order, that the the motion wasn't as expected. You've made a ruling. So Councillor Gaffney does have the ability to move a motion of dissent from the chairperson's rule, and we can step through that process. Just wondering if a pragmatic answer to this might be to have somebody, and perhaps myself or perhaps our secretariat, we've got the live stream, it's easy to rewind and have a look, or we can deal with the dissent motion. I'm a bit interested in the CEO's opinion.
CEO?
Madam Mayor, I'd just suggest that perhaps we just go offline. This would be a sidebar discussion in a normal council meeting. Perhaps if we just go offline just for a second, have a chat, and then come back into the main meting, I think might be more
I
appropriate.
noticed 2 other councillors had their hands up. So, Councillor Trennery, I'm happy to hear your view.
So, you sure? I don't want to move a motion of dissent against the mayor, but I honestly thought we were just debating whether we were deferring number 6 to then debate that motion. I honestly believe that was the case.
Well, look, I'm happy. If it wasn't clear and if I didn't make it clear, then my bad. I'm happy to go back and put the motion as I really honestly thought I had, which is that the recommendation with the deferment of item 6 that was put by Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Price, that is what the standing motion is, and then go for it. You can go. But I'm quite happy to let you have another debate about it.
I just want to make sure that the procedure's right as well, if I could, because if council has moved that motion excluding 6, then there might be some debate later on. And regardless of what everyone says, we are talking about a large amount of money with assets involved. We're talking about a very serious issue for Rutherglen. So I'd just like some clarification. I honestly believe that we were just deferring that number 6. I didn't believe we were passing 1 through to 7 minus 6. So I'd like some clarification. I don't want to debate it and then end up in VCAT or whatever, because we've passed 2 motions with the same thing.
Okay.
So I'm happy to go offline and have clarification.
Yeah, do we need to, or do we just go back and start again and make sure everyone's really clear? Councillor Shepherd, your view?
Oh, I'm just happy to move that motion that we defer number 6, and then that motion be accepted or not accepted, and then someone else is able to move that motion now without number 6 in it, if that is easier.
Okay.
So that there's 2 motions then, and then 2 discussions that happen.
All right. Yeah, and that's fine, Councillor Trenny. I don't want people to not vote on something they don't know what they're voting on, of course. So can we go back then to the motion? I'm going to start again. The recommendation is, I won't read it all out. The recommendation is that council 1 through to 7, that's the motion. And then Councillor Shepherd, do you still want to move that?
I would like to move the motion.
1 to 7 without 6.
That we defer number 6 to have a report on the pros and cons of us being involved with the sale of alcohol to be provided at the next council meeting.
Okay, and you don't want to vote on the other motions at the moment, on the other points?
No, because I can see that the councillors would like to debate the rest of those in another motion.
All right, so the first part of the motion is do councillors agree to defer item 6 and then to discuss the remainder of the motion once that decision is made? Everyone clear about that?
Well,
is that okay? Yes, Councillor Trennery.
Just for the sake of clarification, maybe Councillor Shepherd could move the recommendation minus 6 and then we vote on it from there. Just because if we're voting on, I just don't want it to be, that's as simple as it gets.
All right, let me just check in with, because if we just don't vote on 6, do we need to then say, well, we're bringing it to another meeting or nothing? So
yeah,
can I just check with Director Pinkerton? Just want to make sure we get it right. Okay, Director Pinkerton, in terms of what is the best way to deal with this motion so that people can both make a decision about deferring item 6 and then debate the rest of the motion and vote on that?
So my thought on this is that if you move it without 6, then it would be clear. There would be an unresolved question about the sale of alcohol, which could then come back to the next meeting that everything except the sale of alcohol was decided, and the next meeting we could have a separate agenda item specifically on alcohol.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, Councillor Trennery. Good suggestion. All right, let's go back and go that we move. The recommendation is then that, as outlined, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 be put as a motion, and that 6 not be included. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Shepherd, right. Do I have, yes, CEO, sorry, interruption. This is nightmare. Yes, CEO.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm trying to read quickly on the fly. I'm just a little concerned if we move a motion, then once it's passed, we have to move on to the next agenda item. So I think the motion needs to encapsulate.
No, but I'll allow debate.
Yeah. Sorry, but once, I think you need to do the whole, I'm suggesting we do the whole package, and that is the motion B, 1 to 5 and 7 is put, and that item 6, in the same motion, we say that item 6 be deferred to September, which I think captures what Councillor Shepherd is saying.
Okay.
Then it's the one motion, and it deals with everything you want to do in one hit. Well, I think everything that Councillor Shepherd wants to do in one hit is, which I think she's moving to accept 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 7, and that she wants to hear more debate on item 6 and that item be brought back to the September meeting. I'm just a bit worried if we do one and then the other, we'll have to move on to the next item then once the resolution's passed.
And so people won't get the chance to debate it.
Yeah, so we can debate the
and
whole
I think
motion.
what happened was we got caught up in, do you want to defer item 6 or not? And then other councillors felt like they didn't get an opportunity. Clearly that's not okay. So
if we do 1 to 5 and without 7, without the 6, then the 6 goes unresolved. And then we have to move to the next agenda item. Once we know what you want us to do with 6, you want us to bring it back next month, then we can do that. And that you're happy to adopt 1 to 5 and 7 now.
Or not.
It's all in the same resolution.
Yep.
And we know where to go from there. That's my suggestion. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
All right, no, that's okay. So going back, Director Pinkerton, do you concur with that? Great. Councillor Trennery, does that feel clearer, like in terms of what? Yeah. All right. I'm going to put then. No, Councillor Shepherd, you've already put this, but that items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 are the motion, and item 6 be deferred to be decided at the next council meeting. Is everyone clear about what we're voting on? Is anyone not clear about what we're voting on? Okay,
Are we going to debate that?
Yes, I'm just putting the motion out. We're starting again, all over. Okay, so that's the motion. Councillor Price, do you still second that motion as it's put? Great. Okay. Councillor Price, would you like to speak to that motion?
You probably want me to speak.
Oh, Councillor Shepherd, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm getting really confused.
Firstly, I think it was unexpected, really, that we ended up in this place because with the last budget item, we had given $20,000 extra to the to DR to run the VIC, and they at their next meeting decided not to do it. So we've had firstly, I'd like to thank them for having done such a fantastic job for so long, and they obviously have been also very connected to the community in the work that they've done there, not only with the visitors. And so now the process is now that for us to take it over, and really these next items are all the procedure around us taking over the VIC. So yeah, so I mean, some of them have already started, and I expect that this has to happen.
Okay, and do you want to say anything about the deferral of item 6 in addition to that? You don't have to. You already explained it.
I'll do it again. I just think there's an opportunity for us to look at the alcohol sales separately from us running a VIC. We haven't as yet had any opportunity to look at anything around alcohol sales for us running it or anyone else running it. And so there's to vote on that for me tonight would not be, I do not feel I'd be informed.
Okay. Councillor Price is seconder. Do you want to speak now to the motion?
I'll reserve my right, thanks.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Trenery.
This is a really disappointing situation we're in. We got a report back that gave us figures that we didn't agree with, plan that we didn't agree with, and eventually what we've done is got a heap of volunteers, forced them out of a role that they were doing extremely well. They were doing it extremely well. They were well connected to the community. They were doing it with a heap of volunteers as well as a board. It was being run well, has been run well since the 8 years that I've been here. They were asking for a little bit of extra money. We apparently couldn't afford it, but I guarantee you now it's going to cost us a lot more. It is going to cost the ratepayers huge amounts of money extra because those volunteers, do we have any guarantee the volunteers are going to be there? Anyone? No?
Director Mark Lawrence, can you answer that? Because you're
going to, and before we have directors enter the debate, I asked whether all the volunteers are going to stay there. That's all I want answered.
Yeah. So who do you want to answer that? I thought Director Forrest.
Well, there's people here that are gung-ho and voting for this. There's directors that are involved, the CEOs involved. Surely to goodness, the biggest part of that, one of the biggest parts of that was all the volunteers that were there. They were connected to the community and the groups. Do we know they're all going to stay?
And my understanding, Councillor, was we have talked about this and it sounds as if they're all transitioning across. I just want to check that that's true. Is that correct, Director Florence or CEO? That the staff and the volunteers are all given an opportunity to transfer once Indigo Shire, if Indigo Shire is running the VIC.
All the staff, Madam Mayor, through you, all the staff are transitioning across.
Yeah.
And we've spoken to about 8 of the 15 volunteers so far, and they have indicated they will be coming across.
So they all have the opportunity, is that correct? Do they all have the opportunity?
Yes, they all have the opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't ask whether they had the opportunity. I would know if they're coming across. And I've spoken to 3 of them and they're not going across. So hopefully that'll change. I'm not saying that can't happen. I hope it does change because those 3 people are well connected in the community. And this is the problem with this disruption. It could have been done. It could have stayed the same. Who knows how much the MOU is going to cost? Does anyone who's voting on this know how much we're asking the CEO to go out and talk about an MOU in regards to that building? No one here knows how much it's going to cost, but we're going to vote for it. We've got no idea about the costs, the extent of the costs. The debate on the 130 foot, it's not going to cost 138,000. We had that debate. We knew that it wasn't true. It isn't going to go ahead. The $300,000 in the report's probably going to be closer to it. Honestly, that's maintenance on the building, everything that we're now going to have to take up. And we're disconnecting with a volunteer community group. They're disappearing. I mean, it is absolutely atrocious that we do that as a shire. And as council law, I apologise to them. We have treated it poorly. We as a council asked the CEO to go and work this out with them, to go and do something. And we had good intent that this would happen and we'd do it properly. And the end result is this. They can go away and we're going to move in and take over. It is just, it's deplorable. It really is.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Gaffney.
We voted about this in February of this year. The chair of the winemakers of Rutherglen wrote to the CEO and asked that the decision be reviewed, and it certainly is happening now. That decision of council is being reviewed. I'm not sure about the number of volunteers at the Beechworth VIC, but I know it's less than half of the volunteers at the Rutherglen VIC. and some who have contacted me won't sign up and work for Indigo Shire Council. The cost of repairs to that building is estimated by council to be $180,000. Are we going to pay all of that, or are the winemakers going to pay all of it? I know that the CEO and the Director of Community has met with the winemakers. Has that been spoken about? $180,000 is a lot of money, a lot of money. When you asked about the budget figures, which I announced, and Director Florence said that wasn't comparing apples to apples, I just wonder why the Beechworth VIC, run by council, gets 30,000 more walk-ins, yet makes $125,000 less. That the Beechworth runs at less than the Rutherglen one, and the Rutherglen one is run by run by businessmen who knew what it was about, knew how to get income. This shire seems really good at spending money, but doesn't do very good about making it. I'm concerned that, is the mover talking about just the Indigo Shire not getting involved in the sale of alcohol, or is it when the Indigo Shire takes over that we'll continue to sell alcohol? It concerns me that Indigo Shire staff will be involved in the sale of alcohol. Be very certain that the volunteers at the Rutherglen VIC haven't got RSAs, so they won't be able to serve or sell alcohol. I just wonder why such a successful outfit run by volunteers was so successful, and why Indigo Shire in running a VIC is so unsuccessful. The reasons given that with the Indigo Shire taken over the VIC, the mover certainly hasn't mentioned it. I know the CEO said last month that we could run it for $134,000. Whether I'm in this chamber or out of it, I'll look at that with a lot of interest.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion?
Do you read the motion again, please?
Okay, so do you want me to read it out all the way right through?
No, just the relevant one, number 6.
Okay, so what we're voting on is that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7.
Yep.
That's the motion, and that we defer item 6, which is about the liquor licence, to the next meeting for decision.
Right.
So we support, or you can vote for or against item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, and that 6 be deferred to the September council meeting. So that's the motion. Do you want to ask any further questions, Councillor?
No, I was, yeah, I'm right.
Okay, Councillor Price, do you want to speak as the seconder?
Yeah, firstly to say thank you to the people that have been a part of this board and a part of DR, and I hope that we can work cooperatively to transition across to Indigo Shire being in charge of the VIC. If they thought that that was a necessary and appropriate decision to make at their board meeting, then I'm pleased that they've made it. I don't think that that's where the relationship ends. I think that this is a really crucial point, certainly. And I think as a council, we're really aware that we can't leave a gap here by removing this organisation. We have to make sure that not only is all of this listed in the recommendation transferred across, but that that we were able to transfer across the volunteers, as Councillor has said, and that we can maintain that the connection with that community. To point 6 and deferring it, I think that that's a really sensible thing to do. I'm not yet informed enough about the decision for council to become the holder of a liquor licence, and so I would hate to make that decision without being fully informed, but I understand that the remainder of the motion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 7 needs to happen so that we can have an interim arrangement in place so that the VIC can continue to operate.
Okay. Councillor Price, do you wish to make any final rounding up comments? Councillor Shepherd, sorry.
Councillor Shepherd, yeah.
Okay.
Look, I think it is a sad state that we're in, where a DR have pulled out of running this. It's left to us to run the VIC. We have, as other councillors have said, we run the other VICs throughout the Shire. I would hate to think that we were going to not work with the community and the volunteers that have been there into the future. I have an expectation that this is not the end of a relationship, but a beginning of working with the volunteers and the people who have run the VIC before. I can understand the councillor's concern, but we've been told that the budget, we passed the budget at a previous meeting. We can't debate that now. All we can debate at the moment is the motion in front of us, and I recommend it to the councillors.
Okay, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour of supporting item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 7 and deferring item 6 until the next council meeting, all those in favour? So 4 carried. Thank you, councillors. All right, item 12.1 is the July Capital Works report. Oh, sorry, those against. Those against, Councillor Trenery, Councillor Gaffney. So we've got that all recorded. Apologies, councillors. I was going 4-2, but that needs to be recorded. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
could I please also note that I've got 1% on my iPad, and if I drop out, I'll be reconnecting on my laptop as quickly as I can.
Certainly can. Okay, item 12.1. Do you want to plug it in, councillor? Do you want to get a charger? Go and get it. That's fine.
It is plugged in, not charging properly.
Damn, okay, sure. All right, 12.1, July Capital Works report. The recommendation is that council notes the Capital Works report and the year-to-date achievements in the delivery of the Capital Works program. Do I have someone to move that? Capital Works. Councillor Goldsworthy, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Look, we're only just underway really with Capital Works, as mentioned earlier. We seem to be spending the money at a higher rate than earlier, so I hope it's an indication that we're getting more done than what we did at the same time last year. It's a great Capital Works budget, $12.5 million. There's a lot to be happy about in there for all of our communities. So I look forward to the delivery and watching the progress over the next 12 months.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak to it?
Just to bring up the that we're in the midst of finalising the purchase of the NECMA depot site in Keewal, with the settlement due to at the end of August. So that's something has been on our books for a long time, and we might get it done before this council finishes. So great to see it there as something that finally we're buying.
Yeah, it is good news for Kiwa. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. Anyone against the July Capital Works report? Carried. Thanks, councillors. Oh, sorry, Councillor Goldsworthy, did you want to add? You didn't want to add anything. 12.2, discontinuance of part of Road Reserve 91 High Street, Rutherglen. So the recommendation is that council, in accordance with the process prescribed, gives public notice of its intention to close part of the laneway at the rear of 91 High Street, Rutherglen, and to sell the closed parcel to the abutting landowner for the value of $3,000. Number 2, authorise the CEO to undertake the administrative procedures necessary to enable council to carry out this function under Section 12 of the Road Management Act and the Local Government Act. 3, notes that any objections received are required to be considered by council before a final decision is made. And 4, in the event that no objections are received, authorises the CEO to discontinue part of the laneway at the rear of 91 High Street, Rutherglen, as described in the survey plan and to sell the closed parcel to the abutting landowner. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murdoch. Thanks, Councillor. Okay. Councillor Goldsworthy.
So there's a fair history behind this one. The laneway itself is not a thoroughfare. It abuts the local school. It's never going to be used as a thoroughfare. The landholder previously thought that it was his, and there's a shed built across part of it. It makes sense to rectify those errors of the past. And I think the $3,000 is fair value for the ratepayers of the Shire and for what's gone on previously.
Okay. Councillor Murdoch, do you wish to speak to it? And then I'll come to you, Councillor Fennery. Do you wish to speak to the seconder?
No, I'm happy with that.
Okay. Councillor Fennery.
I was just going to ask about the objection times. Is it normally the 28 days notice? Is that the objection time before it comes back to council, or if there's no objections in the 28 days, does it come back to council? Is that, it's not in the motion, that's all, I presume.
Yeah, fair, good question. CEO?
So, councillors, a normal 189.223 process has been followed here. We're saying to the public, if we receive no objections, then you authorise me to go ahead with the sale. If there is an objection, then that cannot proceed. That we'll need to convene a meeting of council to consider the matter and to consider any objections to the sale. So in this case, it would possibly mean either arranging a special meeting during caretaker. I need to double check, but I think this item would be small value and would be able to be done in caretaker period, and it wouldn't be prohibited. I don't believe, but I need to check.
Madam Mayor, it's okay. I double checked it's 28 days. It is 28 days. We're not saying it in the motion, that's all. So
no, that's
28 days. Very clear.
So if it's 28 days, does that take us through to caretaker if there's an objection? I think it does.
It would take us past caretaker if there are any objections, and I wouldn't have.
So if there is, if this, okay. So if this gets up tonight, the decision can't be made anyway until this council is in caretaker mode.
If there was an objection.
Because
sorry, if there were no objections, you're allowing me to sell. Yeah. If there were an objection, you'd either have to have a meeting during caretaker, or we have to wait till the new council.
Okay. All right. So I'll put the motion. Oh, is there anyone else wish to speak to the motion? No. Okay, I'm going to put the motion then. All those in favour? Anyone against? No. Okay, thanks, councillors.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
I just noted that Councillor Price had her video off, so we might have to record her as a absent. Absent for that vote.
Yeah. All right. So it's a 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6, 0, 6 absent vote. Okay.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yeah.
Just in the absence of Councillor Price, she's coming back online now. I was going to if we could suspend things for 5 minutes, but she's back.
Well, she's back. So I'm happy to put the vote again just so you can participate. All those in favour of 12.2, the discontinuance of part of road reserve. All those in favour, just to give Councillor Price an opportunity to vote. Yes, unanimous. Thank you. Thanks, councillors. Otherwise, you would have been recorded as an absent vote. That's okay. Review of Council Plan 2017 to 2021. The recommendation is that Council adopts the attached Council Plan for the purposes of Section 125 of the Local Government Act with the following changes. There are amendments to the timing of actions to be carried forward, obviously into the next term. Develop a parking strategy for Beechworth and Yakandanda. Complete the walking cycling track from Waganya to Lake Moodamere. Develop a trail strategy, including Chiltern to Rutherglen and the Lake Moodamere Trail. Review museums, athenaeums and historic collections in all towns. Develop a strategic plan for caravan park amenities across the Shire. finalise and implement the review of the Visitor Information Services, review and implement relevant changes arising from the review of the Local Government Act. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Shepherd, seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. Go ahead, Councillor Shepherd.
Yep. So this is this went out with the budget to the community. We discussed those 7 or so items to carry over from the plan that we still haven't done. But it's going to be great to see when we do have the report with all the things we have done, which has been huge. And so there's been no community comment. So yeah, I commend that these be passed into the next year, these actions.
Hey, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, when you look at the plan as it stands at the moment, you can see all that we have achieved as a council, and there's more that unite us than divide us, I would say. It has been good, and with these additional items that will go in there, it'll only be for the betterment of the community. And it feels funny to come to the end of your council period with some items still ready to still to be done. But I think this will set things up for the new council just to keep things going until they can develop their own plan. So for that reason, I too support this motion.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Trenery. Oh, sorry, I thought you had your hand up. No? No. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Just checking everyone out. No? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? No? Carried. Thanks, councillors. Item 13.2, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act. The recommendation is in the exercise of the powers conferred under the Local Government Act and the other legislation referred to in the attached instruments of appointment and authorisation. Indigo Shire Council resolves that Belinda Jenkin, Town Planner with the Indigo Shire Council, be appointed and authorised under Section 147 of the Planning and Environment Act as set out in the instrument. The instrument of delegation comes into force immediately upon resolution of council, and the instrument remains in force whilst the officer remains employed by council or until council determines to vary or revoke it. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Price, seconded Councillor Murdoch. Okay, Councillor Price.
My only comment is to welcome Belinda to Indigo Shire.
Okay, I think we'd all second that one. Yeah, Councillor Murdoch.
Yeah, ditto.
Okay, ditto. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, I just want to say that, look, we do get a lot of feedback in our planning department. It is fantastic to have another planner in there. We can only hope that we get more of these in the near future to replace the staff that have retired or moved on. So, yes, very much welcome to Belinda, and here's hoping we get more like her.
Absolutely. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? We all welcome Belinda. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Great, thank you. Item 13.3, Instruments of Delegation. The resolution is that Council delegates to the person holding the position, acting in or performing the duties of Chief Executive Officer, the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument of delegation to the CEO, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument, delegates to the members of council staff holding, acting or performing the duties of the positions referred to in the instrument of delegation to members of staff, the powers, duties and functions set out in that instrument, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. Notes that the delegations come into force immediately upon resolution of council. Revokes all previous delegations to the CEO and to the members of staff. Notes that the duties and functions set out in the instruments must be performed, and the powers set out in the instruments must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that it may from time to time adopt. And notes that the instrument of delegation to the CEO includes a power of delegation to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with Section 11B of the Local Government Act, and the instrument of delegation to members of staff is in accordance with the legislation referred to in the attached instrument of delegation. Do I have someone to move this very important piece of delegation. Councillor Goldsworthy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd, thanks. Councillor Goldsworthy? Oh, you've gone. You're back. Okay.
Look, a delegation is a very important function that we can actually do as a council. If we don't delegate, then it all falls to council. So it's very important that we have the right delegations, and we're tipping it off to the CEO, and good luck with it.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Do you wish to speak as seconder?
My finger just wasn't working. Look, we just reviewed these instruments. I know we have, it has also changed with the new Act, but they also need to be reviewed within a year of a new council. We're going to be reviewing them quite often. So if we're not happy with them now, we've got in a year's time, we'll be able to make another decision, or whoever's on council will be able to make another decision. So they're the most reviewed policy, I think, or instruments we've got. So yes, just another one of the things that have needed to be changed very quickly in response to the new Act.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Goldsworthy, you wish to add any final comments? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? No. Thanks, councillors. 13.4, Public Transparency Policy. The recommendation is that council adopts the Public Transparency Policy attached. Do I have someone to move it? Councillor Price, seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Price.
This is another one of the policies that were required by the new Local Government Act. And so we've put it out for a limited public exhibition time to make sure that it's adopted by the 1st of September. The new Act is a principles-based Act, and this is one of the principles is public transparency. At the conclusion of the report notes that it supports council in its ongoing drive for good governance, the importance of open and accountable conduct, and how council information is to be made publicly available. And I'd just like to say thank you to the staff that have been doing a power of work to get these policies all through by the 1st of September. Working from home in COVID times presents even more challenges, as much as the reduced time frame to get them all to us. So thank you to them.
Councillor Goldsworthy.
Much has been said and made by councillors over the time about openness and transparency. Sometimes we do have to have confidential sessions, but by and large we try and make our information as public and transparent as possible, and this will ensure that we do. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds with some of the changes, but by and large it adopts our existing practices. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. So well done to the staff who have been working on it.
Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thanks, councillors. 13.5 is the council expense policy, and the recommendation is that council adopt the attached council expense policy. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Shepherd, seconder. Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Shepherd.
So this is section 40 of the new Act, and it provides for reimbursement of expenses of councillors and members of delegated committees. Now, we don't have any delegated committees as yet. They are a new group as well as part of the new Act. So they just have to be bona fide expenses, have been reasonably incurred, and are reasonably necessary for the councillor or a member of the delegated committee to perform their role. And I just want to say, some people incur more expenses than others, but I think it's important that we are open to anyone being able to come on council, and we need diverse people representing all sections of our community. And if that means that people have children and need childcare, or don't have a car, or whatever that may mean, you know, this type of policy assists those people to come on council and represent all different sections. So I welcome for this reimbursement policy.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I support.
Oh, sorry, a seconder. Yes, sorry, Councillor.
I support wholeheartedly what Councillor Shepherd has stated. It is really important that those that want to come onto council have the ability to be able to do that without being made financially poorer for it. I would say that if you're looking to join council, it's not for the money, it's, because you want to make a difference. The stipend isn't that much.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the council expense policy? No, okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Thanks, Councillor. 13.6 governance rules. The recommendation is that council adopts the attached governance rules. Again, do I have someone to move this motion? And I will just say, and we have mentioned, a lot of these are coming through tonight because they have to be in place by September 1st under the new Local Government Act. And as already mentioned, the staff that have done this have worked so hard and they are, I'm sure, exhausted. So that's why we're churning through these tonight. They've all been before us. They've all been out for comment, but we need to get them through tonight. So Councillor Goldsworthy. Yes? Anyone to second it? Councillor Murdoch. Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy. Do you want to discuss this one?
Yes, you need good rules to run a good meeting and to ensure councillors behave themselves.
You missed a real ripper.
Yep, so for that reason, I reckon we should have governance rules.
Good point. You really missed a great session, Councillor. Councillor Murdoch, do you want to speak as a secretary?
No, I think you've said it well. It's been fun.
Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Yeah, Councillor Treasury.
I concur with the move of the motion. We do need really good rules so we can run a good meeting. Even though today's been a very exciting meeting, we've got an end result because we've followed structure and rules, which is good. Can I just say, and everyone's been saying it about the staff and council in general and how well they've done, I think we've got to let the community know that it's not we've done this at the last minute. We've been given this time frame by the state government. So they've had to do all this under a certain time frame, the staff, to present this and get them out very quickly. So it's not that we've dumped a heap of work and we've left it to the last minute. They gave us the last minute, and so we've had to react to it in that way. So everyone's done a really good job.
Yes, very good point. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Gaffney.
With this council, I'd just like to say that governance does rule.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Shepherd.
I should have left it there, shouldn't I, really?
No,
but I just wanted to raise an important point that we reviewed Local Law 3 in February, and these same governance rules of Local Law 3 have been transferred across into this. So we've already had a close look at this, and yeah, just to let people know.
Anyone else wish to speak to this? Okay, I'm going to go back to Councillor Goldsworthy. Do you want to sum up?
Yep. Look, this is the last of a trilogy of policy documents that we need to adopt. Once again, thank you to the CEO and his staff for all that they've done in regards to this.
And I think we should particularly mention Delene Voigt and Annabelle for the work they've done, because like really they have been, as Councillor Trenery said, they were given absolutely such tight time frames, and this is very complicated nuts and bolts work. Oh, they're getting claps. So yeah, I want to just thank them on behalf of all of us. We all know how hard you've worked and with really limited resources. So thank you so much. You've done a fantastic job. I'm going to put this motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. 13.7 is the advisory committee minutes, and the recommendation is that council receives the attached unconfirmed advisory committee minutes. Do I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Price. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murdoch. Councillor Price, do you wish to speak to this?
Just to say thank you to all of the members of these two committees that have presented minutes for adapting to Zoom meetings and still making sure that we can conduct these meetings so that we can still get some outcomes. And just again to point to the fact that in the Chair's report is listed the fact that the Audit Committee Charter was recommended to Council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Murdoch, do you wish to add any comments as a seconder?
No, I agree with Councillor
Price.
Yeah, I'm so used to saying Sophie. Councillor Price.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, I'll put the motion on. All those in favour? Thanks, carried. Okay, so we have no notices of motion tonight. Item 15.1, Councillors' reports. The diary for the mayoral duties for July is there. If anyone wants to ask me anything, please feel free. You've had a look. Anyone got any questions on that one? Okay, great. 16.1 is decisions register, and that's for information so people can keep track of the decisions we make and where they're up to. Item 17, general business. Do I have any general business for this evening? None. Okay, CEO.
Madam Mayor, I just thought I might explain for the viewers at home that that no one's wearing masks except one person, as Director Ian Allett. But I just wanted to explain that Director Ian Allett is actually in a company council workplace, and the rest of us are all in our homes. So we're all observing our COVID restrictions. Ian happens to be in a workplace, that's why he's wearing his mask and we aren't. I just thought I'd clarify that.
Oh, thank you for that. Yes, I guess it would look a bit odd if you didn't understand that. And yes, rest assured, we are all wearing our masks wherever we need to. So right now we're at home, we don't need to. And thank you, Ian, for observing it. Yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
I just wanted to bring up that we're all up for re-election, and I'm encouraging other people who may be interested to go onto our website and see the process for joining council. And even though we might look like a crazy wild bunch of debaters, we really do all work hard for the community in our separate ways and ways of working, but we all work well together. So I encourage people to stand.
That's a great point. Thank you, Councillor. If you're interested, there's a lot of information on our website, and there will, yes, thank you for that. And I would also concur that for all of our heated discussions and passion at times, I think we work really well as a group of colleagues representing very different interests, and all of the time we're working in the interests of our community. And if you're interested in doing that, please put your hand up. Okay, so that's general business. Anything else? All right, so we now are actually going to move into confidential to appoint some new members to the Audit Committee as we say farewell in the next term to two of our existing Audit Committee members. Again, we want to pay a huge thanks to them for the work they do. But we are doing this in confidential because we then have to, that's the process we need to go through. That means unless you want to stick around for me to close the meeting at the end, I would recommend to anyone watching that after this, we'll simply be coming back to close the meeting. So for viewers who may wish to leave now, and we're taking bets on how many of you there are, and it varies from 4 to about 25. So we'll see how we go. But we'll say good night. Next month is the last council meeting for this term, which is Tuesday, the 15th of September. And we look forward to getting a big crowd at that meeting to say farewell to this current term of councillors and the staff that have worked with us. So at this stage, I will assume that many of you will leave the meeting, and I'm asking a councillor to move that we move into confidential and a seconder for that. So Councillor Price, and Councillor Councillor Gaffney, Councillor Price, Councillor Gaffney. Okay. So, admin, can we please move into confidential?
You want to vote on that?
Right, my mistake. We have a mover, Councillor Price, a seconder, Councillor Gaffney. All those in favour of moving into confidential? Carried, thank you, Councillor Trenery. Carried, thank you. Admin, can you please put us in confidential? Okay, so we're back into the main meeting room. We're still live streaming. I would like to thank councillors for their passionate contribution this evening. As I said earlier, even when things get heated, it's great to see that we can come up with a decision and move on. So thanks to everybody. The next meeting is our last Tuesday, the 15th of September at 6:30. So I'll say goodnight to everyone. Thanks to the staff as well. And we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you, everybody. So you can
Good
close
night.
the meeting now, admin.